Now we can see it. Good day, beautiful family. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our first YouTube live session, and we had some technical difficulties. So let us know in the comments if you can hear us and see us. I think the microphone is not plugged in. Hopefully this will be better. Let's try this. There we go. Can you hear us better now? There we go. Thank you. So, it being our first YouTube live, we have brought ourselves here to give others an opportunity to ask us anything that you may wish. We usually do Q&As weekly or bi-weekly on our website, and we have an incredible family of high conscious beings. And the motto is to apply the truth that you have sought and watch your world change. So if there's anyone that would like to bring anything into the comments, we have had a beautiful sunny day here in England. They don't last very long, so when they are here, we like to make the most of them. So, happiness is a key. So I think today, maybe we can start with happiness and how one can find happiness. And essentially, happiness is found in a moment that is free from thinking. But how do we get to a place that we don't think, as the mind/ego takes in what it has seen and recycles this within inside a conceptual perception, which is the place where most people suffer. When they try to control the future or change past, we can also suffer a great deal. So we find acceptance being the highest power in these moments. On our website, we have many courses, which we feel have been an absolute key in our own personal freedom, happiness along this journey. And one of them would be the virtues, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a very powerful knowing when you can truly understand that every actions that you take have a response within inside your own psyche due to the perception that is relative to yourself. For instance, when one finds suffering in anger due to the nature of expectation, such as a traffic jam. You see, the traffic jams appear when one needs to find peace in these moments. So the anger arises because you had an expectation that the traffic should be very different and free-flowing. Then the commentary starts inside the head. This causes you to lose track of the moment. And it may seem like you're going inward, but your attention has been given to a form of thought. And this is what would be recognized within mysticism as a demon. And the etymology would share that D would be to remove, such as deconstruct, and mon being one. Mono would be the one void or single. So these demons that history has spoken about so greatly, even modern day artists such as Bruce Lee had to destroy the demons that lay within himself until he would find peace. So it's a very important thing to know that you are your best friend, you are your worst enemy, and you have this absolute choice. So to learn the significance of how to control yourself, to elevate beyond limitations that have held you back previous.
It's very much an inward journey as well that we are taking here, and when we see others as being a root of our troubles or our injuries or our illnesses, we are putting that outward energy there. And when we take on board those aspects ourselves and have the inward journey and do the shadow work and the work within the great work, this is where we find freedom. And if others are on a different path than us, or if they aren't, like as Josh was mentioned, happy or enjoyment, then we find happiness within. So we can be the light that shines bright, and others will then come with that energy and reciprocate that energy. And this is how the energy works, and we can either join them in their sadness and their momentary depression or whatever they are feeling, or we can rise up and be the light that shines the way.
Yes, we have helped so many people who tend to say that I will be happy when I get my car, or I will be happy when I get my pet, or I'll be happy when I move from here. And these are just the ideas that something external to you can give you happiness. In the truth, the only thing that is yourself. So knowing the self is the most important thing, and to recognize that you have ultimate power at all times in a present moment allows you to be in full control. And until this is recognized, suffering within inside this plane or experience is felt. Duality is but a concept. And this is the immaculate conception that Christ spoke of. Immaculate, clean, and concepts. To be clean and devoid of all concepts, living in a present state, which is pure happiness and bliss, as you were always before the thought arose.
And no amount of external material items, money, gifts, or wherever you are in the world, it's not going to make you or bring you happiness. This is very much an internal journey. We can be happy wherever we are. We can be grateful and in gratitude wherever we are and whatever we're doing, because nothing external to you will bring you this peace and this balance. So the search ends with you, basically. It's not a need or a want or a desire. These are just things that actually are attachments, and they do hold you back or hold you down to a certain degree. So that internal peace and that internal balance of energies, when Josh mentioned the virtues that are on our website, every time you revisit those and have a look into it, you find something new to pick up, and it unfolds something new within your journey. So these are very key aspects to come back to within the learning of the way to balance that energy through the energetic system. This is all we are, the energies.
It's all just but an idea that we hold inside the great consciousness itself. So if we can choose the right idea and live in the right perception of that, we exist in happiness. But we earn this L, and the limitations you can see in the word is imitations. So that which you imitate creates your limitations. This is why the ego can never perceive anything other than what it has seen. So living in the mind will keep you bound to the same cycle of the psyche, which would be the Groundhog Day. So we need to break these boundaries by taking on the great work to recognize who we are, what we are, where we are, when we are, and how this all came into existence.
And what Josh was just speaking of then is like the samsara cycle, the infinite cycle. And if we keep repeating the same processes, and the teachings that are here for us are actually, even if they are painful and they do cause you discomfort, whether it be physical, emotional, anything to do with your being, it is a learning. And if we keep repeating that same cycle, then we're not going to break free. And one of the questions here was, how do we exit the body and move on from this experience?
We exit. This is the beautiful nature of phonetic etymology and symbolism. We know the X itself, and we know the word exit. If you can see it's rather bright here. Yes, thank you so much. We'll do it again. And then we'll also put the word leave because it means to exit as well. And our beautiful X family recognize this. You see this X, it actually marks the spot. So this is a feminine and a masculine. Touching at such a close proximity, this would be called die state. In this state, these two energies, you could say, again, the A to Z journey, looking for the Z wave in Zion, the Z ion, we have to balance things to exit and to leave. If you see the word X, it, you can see E, which is the fifth, which means ether. Balance these two energies with consciousness, I, number 9, and T, which represents physical. So ether, balance the energy duality on the journey to transcend the ego, to be able to exist as the self in an experience whilst controlling instantaneous manifestation of that which you choose to experience, which would be heaven.
Can I
Of course you can.
just keep this one up, because I'm just going to write something underneath to just further explain the X there. So when Josh was mentioning the die state here, this is actually 13. So you've got the 9 and the 4. When we speak of the number 13, I've been through this on a couple of videos with the family, but I'm not sure if it's been on YouTube. So we've got the M. This is the card, 13th card in the tarot, which is death. So to die, as Josh always quotes, is to be liberated from death. And when we speak of the M, we have our die state here, and this is actually death and then rebirth. So we're coming into the Taurus again, which is the opposite from the W there.
The W, the two hemispheres, the ego along with the self.
And then if we cut those in half, we then have that plane of inertia. So these really link in because we have the masculine and feminine. So the X marks the spot. So this one would be here. And where we have the the downward triangle here, the feminine, this is where we usually write the level. So we have, when we are balanced in that balanced state, and the chakras here, 3 above and 3 below. This is when we're in that balanced state, that die state coming from the heart space. So we have that divine love and divine will, and they're both clashing against each other. And each time when they kiss or they marry, or that sacred sex, the union between the two, is where we get that perfect balance, that die state, which is the void of all of creation. And this is where we can really see from the letters and the numbers that they all correspond to that same thing, as we're trying to get back to that inward journey, to get back to that heart space and be from love at all points. Because, you know, another question that was on there is, how do I kind of work with beings that have that energy of, you know, negativity and constant reaction?
Drop the concept of it all.
We really need to be, again, the light that shines the way, because if we're joining them and reacting back to the way that they are, then this is just creating that push-pull again. We really need to respect that everyone's on their own journey, and, you know, it takes someone to rise above that, to stop that kind of push-pull argument, and trying to break free from those chains of and the blocks of energies.
When you start to elevate awareness and you break free from unconscious action, so the matrix is perfectly set out for unconscious action with symbols and signs. This is why you do your register when you begin your journey through the school system. So your name, you represent yourself with this. And then from then on, you are deeply programmed in this wonderful world, let's say. When you break free, you find the truth, and you start to see the truth from the falsehood. This is essentially when the right starts to activate, the right hemisphere. You could call this the etherical brain. But what are we actually searching for on this journey? We are searching for truth from lies. And we search it within the world that we have created inside ourselves, as we are that which sees consciousness itself expressing. But we look so very hard on this journey for something that's going to fulfill us, because we are looking from the ego. Now, the ego begins this spiritual journey because it sees that there is more power here. There is something to gain from this, which is essentially its own death. If the one can recognize that it needs no search, it has always been that which it is seeking for. It's on an experiential journey of form, and this form is expressed within. So when we continue to look, we are missing the very truth, and the truth is we are in the eternal magic moment. But our attention is given to the ego, and the ego is of the past, or the possibility of a future which is never going to happen. So you live in this present moment, destroying the concepts of past and future, enjoying the very moment that is presented to you, and you become free. So it's only the idea that one holds that it is not free, or he or she is not free, that bounds you to this reality. Because this moment is filled with light and life and joy, and everything you have ever needed is here and now. It is just that which you perceive it to be makes you feel that reality. Did you wish to say something?
Yeah, so Josh just mentioned at the beginning there to elevate one's being and one's consciousness. Now, when we speak of the eight, and you know, the journey of the eight here, we are lifting that energy through the body and creating the kundalini rising of that energy. And when we look at anything that goes in that sort of shape, we see again the torus and the infinite, so the infinite sign and symbol. Everything
is innate that we are infinite, and we must elevate through reciprocation.
And all of that is linked to everything that we have here, like the DNA, for example. When we look at anything that, you know, all of this supercomputer that is molded into one perfection of human, it's just out of this world, the creation of what we can perceive here. So when we have that eight, we have like the DNA,
which is light, and all light travels in a spiral.
So when Josh was just saying that, then we have that sort of eight shape that goes up into that, and DNA is equal to the 19, which is actually the S, the sine wave there, and an anagram for the DNA is and the actual symbol for and is the 2. So again, it comes back to that 8 every time. So when we're looking to elevate anything, it's to rise it up, to level up.
And how? Is the EL. There are 2 L's, AL and EL. If you look at language, you will see the E and A balance within many forms of words, such as heaven or dream, etc. The AL is the red shift, alpha wave. EL is the blue shift. We are missing the blue shift when we are in mind or thought, and walking around as the person or the persona is here. So this is death itself that loses its energy. This connected cause reciprocation of the Kundalini energy, that you could say, that allows perpetual life and recognition that this is all but a dream, a wonderful, a real or reality dream as it is seen.
But once these two are balanced, we can't have one without the other. So once they are balanced, this is when we create light. And this is what the 144,000 is. It's actually light activation. And when we get to the 12, this is when we have that light activation. And this is what they speak of in the Bible of the 144,000. It's not actually the name that's on the list, and you're not getting in the club if you don't have your name on the list. It's actually igniting that.
This is to 12, which is to twine the L's, the AL and EL of both hemispheres. Thought, freedom. Thought and freedom.
But because we have so much programming here in the matrix system, this is why we try to pull to the other side, because the pull that we can get from the other side is where we become imbalanced. So we're not trying to make anyone super spiritual or super intellectual.
Conceptualized spirituality is another trap. If you recognize a truth and you apply that truth, this is the key. It's like understanding your true food source. If you eat your true food source, you become free from the pain body experience that comes with eating the improper food.
But again, that's all light and photons, because the sun cooks our food perfectly over a period of time. And then if we do cook our food, because we're not in the right locations in the world to have the right nutrition, then all of the enzymes are, or all of the nutrition is kind of like damaged from that heat process. So this is why we always say, if you are in the right location, this would be the perfect food for you, because it's grown by Mother Earth and it's taken the perfect amount of time. And because we are energetic beings, eating the energy that goes into that fruit when it's grown is perfect for us. But when we start adding all the chemicals from the standard Western diet into our bodies, this is when we become toxic and problems start to happen. So
the very reason of the world and those food choices is the opportunity to make the right choice and experience the elevated state that comes with this. But the food that is given in the standard Western world that many beings were perceived to have been born into a family that provided this food was necessary for the one to wake itself up. So this realm here, or the experience that we're having, is for maximum karmic debt clear up, to recognize the good, bad, falsehood, and truth, to come to a space of ultimately perfection within your physicality, to then recognize this truly has brought you nowhere, thus going internal and seeing that all of these concepts held you from the recognition and the revelation that you are it, the creator.
This is why we always say the teachings are just perfectly divine for everyone, because they are part of the journey here, and this is how we master one's temple or know thyself, by walking this walk.
See, revelations come when you are even the L's at ion. This is just one interpretation of the word. R is 18, which is the reciprocating torso, but this comes when balance is here. So you are balancing the L's at the ion energetic level, thus bringing a liber at ion, or liberation. Liber is freedom. And this is essentially all we are doing, is finding happiness and joy in moments that we have been liberated from thought. And as soon as one goes into a thought, they have disconnected and entering a space that is possible, or a possibility of suffering. But there is no suffering found in the moment. This is why attention is key. The upside down number 9. Attention is that which you truly are and have. and where you put it is your dimension you exist in. Do you or does one exist in a dimension of thought, in the past, separate from now, or in the future? Or does one give their attention to this moment so fully and focused that there is nothing else other than this creativity, this freedom that comes with this joy? This is how music is made. This is how paintings are created. This is true expression. Now, what we like to share with our family is to realize, and a lot of people experience this through psychedelics or DMT, is when you shut your eyes and you become aware, and you are aware that there is nothing, the one which is awareness or consciousness, to be conscious of nothing is ultimately a very scary place. So when consciousness was just it began to create within inside itself lucidity, dreaming, Lucifer, the light bearer, the trap to not be able to recognize the self, the angel of music. If you were this in absolute perpetual darkness and nothingness, the very one wish you would have would be to see, to taste, to smell, to touch, to hear, to experience. And recognizing this allows you to be in constant gratitude that you are in form. You have form. You have these senses. And only when you recognize that you are this dreamer, let's say you were dreaming last night, and in your dream you looked down and you seen a body, and you had conversations. You may have drove a car, you may have eaten, you may have felt the breeze. Was there a body? Was there a breeze? What was there? That which was there was that which you are. The seer, seeing. You have never ever not been this. You have always been this. It was just a concept that was held as an idea inside the person or persona, through the experience that you've had during this perceived incarnation. So you're looking from this body that was dreamt, and inside this dream, you began to create the psyche that believed it was the body, had a mind, and had a car and a house, and you fall and trap into this. So to allow yourself these revelations, which happen as soon as you recognize truths from falsehood, in your application of these truths, you begin to expand and become more free. One piece of advice I can give you is try not to hold on to anything or any truth that you find. Come to a recognition that your inner truth is that you have perceived this to be the ultimate truth of physicality. For example, earthly plane. Do we spin on a ball? The absolute impossibility of that fact allows one who has the separation from following to see. And this will continue once one has recognized a lie from the truth into the expansion that the duality world itself is the absolute opposite of the truth of physicality. But within the opposite, the truth is hidden, such as the earth is spinning at such a speed, but the truth is it's energetically spinning, non-physically spinning, and we live inertly on an inertial plane. And yes, to be free like a tree.
Just that.
Yes.
The trees are free.
So we don't want to get lost. If we get lost in a perception or concept, it's just as pain body experiencing as any other. We tend to try to drag others or to show others that this lie that we have seen must be recognized within others, but it is only taken when one is ready to see. So we don't need to waste our energy or our time. And usually, well, innately, the way things are set up, if you do such a thing, it actually separates these two energies. So I recommend you to continue your journey. Speak, but do not push.
Yes, always have the truth ready to say your truth, but in a kind...
You do not need to convince
Yes.
anybody.
I just wanted to show you guys the quick vowels picture. So the vowel to L, the EL, and this is the A and the E again, the reciprocation of that energy. And this is very much the physical side here, where we've got the four letters in letters in each. That's to do with the form here. So once we balance that, then we move on to the 666, conquering that. And
Isn't that the devil?
yes. So this is the IOU. So IOU, the A and the E. So this is what the kind of universal rule is that we need to really balance these energies to enable us to move on and create this tesseract from our energy that comes from within. So all of the letters and numbers are just little clues along your journey to how, we've got a video on the alphabet, haven't we?
Yeah,
all of these.
and the A and E. The A and E is a very important thing to understand within this alphabet, red and blue. Obviously, the accident and emergency within inside the hospital.
Yeah.
It is essentially the matrix is always revealing these things.
And this is just clues on how to escape from those chains and those blocks. And you see it all around the matrix, the games on the computer consoles.
You need to Xbox 360.
Yeah, the EA games. It's all.
And the boxing, for example, the red and blue is everywhere.
And blockchain have just brought out another thing that's A affinity or something, isn't it? So it's all around wherever you look, and it's just prompting you to take that guidance and really try to balance those energies. And
just for the recognition of 4, you can see F, which is matter, and our matter. This is 4. Form is 4. You can break this down individually, but I'm just going to show you something simply first. 4M. So form is for balance. So M is the 13th letter. Some fear this number. But it's after 12, after you've become entwined and in balance with the L. But your form, or your go all within form, is to be balanced. And it's for balance. This is why we are experiencing this perceived form in duality itself.
And I'll just show you card number 4. It's the Emperor. So that masculine figure there.
But essentially, we are divine, free dreamers, having a lucid experience with inside ourselves. Try to remember your dreams and remember what was going on, and question yourself: how did the chicken, how did the egg, how did man suddenly appear? If you have the idea or concept that we came from a amoeba, then how did that appear? And does it just appear? Thank you all for joining us this evening. It's lovely to see you all.
So I'll just read out a couple of questions. So we do the etymology of the words enjoyment and joy has meant a mind, so it seems to do with the pleasure of the mind.
And we will do moment, as this is something that will bring the recognition of it all. So enjoyment.
Yeah.
Enjoy and
joy.
Joy. and then we've got moment. So I'm sure we are all aware that ment is Latin for mind. This is why ment all, mental, al being alpha, thought separation from momentary presence, is mental. So it's all mind, essentially. If we looked at the moment, where does this moment come from? M is 13, it's balance. This is O, which is a void, and the mind, which is the true mind, which is consciousness. So a moment, any given moment, is all we have, and it is only found inside the mind, not the perceived mind of thought. So I know I spelled this with an I, and I do know it begins with an E, but it's phonetically enjoy-ment. So everything is meant. It is all a mind. And to be joyful is the way that you perceive things to be. I could look at a tree in the winter here in England, which is 11 months of the year, and the leaves would be falling on the ground. I could look at this and say, this is going to create a wonderful topsoil, going to be so beneficial for my land, the tree, the microlife. Or I could say, this is a mess and I have to clean it up, and find stress in that. Because the stress is found in the moment when one is perceiving that something should be other than it is. If we let go of trying to change situations, then we find this element of freedom. The ego holds a construct of what things should be. But if we take our attention off of it and intensely look in any given moment, we will see the beauty and feel the joy in everything. If you just look at water and you look at it so intensely, the way that it moves, the way that it falls, the way that it comes out of your tap, you will see that it is traveling in a wonderful spiral. And how the sea moves with the temperature, it rolls with mediation of pressure and creates movement and elevation, expansion, contraction. If you see the subtleties of the wind or the wind, you see it lift the dirt and the leaves, and it's traveling in spirals. And you observe that there may be a sunny day and clouds, and there may be a moon, and the moon is cold, and the sun is hot. And when the sun goes by in a cloud, and the moon is stronger, there's a mediation of pressure, and you feel the wind lift. Everything essentially is happening through a mediation of pressure, and the medium be water. Water is the substratum of the perceived physicality of form. Obviously, the true substratum is energy. But even energy itself is a concept that was created for the perceived person who is dedicated in looking for the truth, will find during the attention on physicality only.
But that's the power of observation and truth, because this is not going by what anyone else has said or has found out. It's your inner truth. So you know 100% that this is happening because you're observing this for your own journey. And the moment you start to believe in, and the belief is a lie,
because
it's not your own truth, and you haven't walked this. You've just heard or seen someone else do it, and you're just copying or imitating that behavior. And this is where programs happen. And when Josh was speaking about the moment there, if you're present and you're in that moment, there is no past or no future. So we can't be in fear, and we can't feel that our programs are determining what's going to happen, because we are there. And the past creates a form of depression, because we're reliving those traumatic experiences.
Wanting or wishing to change something
in the moment. And then our future is giving us anxiety because we don't know what's going to happen. It's the fear of the unknown. So if we live in that present moment, the actual gift that we're given, then there is none of that attachment and that egoic pressure from the programs that have been created from the past, or the anxiety from the future.
You've always been this. If one says, I wish to be enlightened, that wish has separated you from enlightenment. Because you were before the idea that came into your field, let's say. So you say, I wish to be enlightened. You began to be upset because you started to think. Well, you were okay until you thought about it. And when you were okay, you were enlightened. You were free.
And this is a question here that we've had. It says, do we need to understand this intellectually, or is it enough to live in truth and heart, moment to moment, feeling inner balance and inner harmony? And this is what Josh has just answered, that there is no intellectual way to understand any of this. It is within every single one of us. It's a built-in thing. If you look at how the young stars are, they're just so free up into a certain age when their programs start to kick in and the ego kicks in. It's like a freedom that they have to actually be in that moment and imagination. It's a playful state of joy, of pure joy and pure bliss.
The intellect is actually built up. So the idea of that question was built on the intellect. So here, of course, the intellect needs to be built up through one's intensive devotion to the truth. Because without the devotion to the truth, one will never find it. Because this truth leads you searching so far. Initially, the truth searching for me was within the lies from falsehood.
But then you can get caught up on one thing, like a specific part of those conspiracies or those concepts that happen within the matrix. You can get very stuck and blocked on one of those aspects of, there's chemtrails, there's things that happen with all the conspiracies that are out there and the flat earth, and you can get hung up on one particular thing, and this can hold you for many years. Some people even
I used to
take it
suffer
to the
from about 18 years old with chemtrails because they were so obvious. In England, you get up at 5 or 6 a.m. and every day the sky is blue, and then you look and the grids come. I initially wanted to wake everybody up, as most people do. Do you see this? Most unconscious never look up. But that very perceived reality was the very thing which woke me. So I had gratitude for the chemtrails, which leads you on a continual journey. Because whether you have taken a vast journey in unveiling the lies within inside the world, or just one or two.
But again, if we take that back to, say, Josh's teaching at that, initially it's anger and resentment at the fact that, how could they do this to us? What's happening? How can we stop it? And a fight for freedom kind of thing. And this is another thing that the communities take on board. Like when you form a community, it's like usually like a flat earth community or a vegan community, or any form, like even with the meat
racing cars
stages, it's like we're gonna fight to the end for this to be seen and heard. And actually, if you just take it all as it comes, it actually this is the thing that woke Josh's journey up initially. So it's a teaching. It was a teaching for him to overcome and really let go of that. And the moment you let go of things, they fall away from you. They no longer cause you pain, and they no longer cause you that fear. And then you can open your heart to it. And this is when you become balanced, and this is when you can really create magic within your being when you let go and you are free from anxiety, depression, anger.
The great
resentment.
teachings say, the world is for suffering or of suffering. So
again, but this comes back to the sins again, doesn't it? The virtues and the sins. If you're creating that imbalance within, the way to we had another question about how do we take away or get rid of the demons, and demons are only within you. They are not an external thing that comes and haunts you. It's a thought process. It's a thought demon.
So let's say you have a fear of speaking like we are doing now, and that fear is held as an idea. So you're pre-exempting and have an expectation of a situation, or maybe what others may think about you, or what you may or may not do or say. But you have fallen trap to the mind, thinking of a future, trying to control it. If you do this, you lose the ability to free flow. You're not handed the truth. You focus on an idea that was happened, or not yet happened. Let's say a script that you prepared. And you wrote that script without any fear, so it came from you. You know everything you need to know. You be yourself. You take the attention off of the suffering, the thought, into the present moment, and you learn to transcend these demons.
That was an external thought that had came to you.
It was a concept
and
that was a falsehood held by the ego. So you use your contemplation, you see on template, and you ask yourself some simple questions. Can I change the future? Does it help with me thinking about the future, feeling anxiety? No. Then you recognize that the moment, if your attention is here, there is none of this. You accept that you cannot change it. In the moment of acceptance, you transcend the energy that is blocked in the chakra system. And you have to continually contemplate, ask yourself these questions, and then accept and let go. And every time they arise, they fall and they get smaller and less impactful. And before you know it, these do not arise.
And this is why we purposely put ourselves into these teachings. Once we know what we need to do to overcome something, we purposely put ourselves into a teaching to help us to free ourselves from those traps and those fears that may arise. So again, the universe will give you those lessons initially, and then once you can see them, the shadow work that needs to be done, this is when you can really focus on taking away those layers that may hold you back.
There. They are not. They shouldn't be perceived as negative. They should be recognized as opportunities to evolve, to expand, and to become free.
The great work. This is what we continue.
Everything that is presented to you is for you, by you, in you, as you. So you look too deep within physical nature. You've lost the true nature of these experiences. Everything is perfect. If you try to change perfection, you suffer.
So I wanted to just read out this one because this is great. So the chicken and the egg both appeared at the same damn time.
You see, that's the word. They appeared. There's no chicken that came first. There was no egg that came first. They were both dreamt. Just as you dreamed that you were born. Just as you dream each and every moment. And when you fall asleep at night with the Z wave, how does this happen? You're only going to fall asleep when your attention has been taken off of every last physical aspect of yourself. If you try to sleep from the ego psyche, you will never sleep, because the act of trying to sleep is not sleeping. So it's only when the attentiveness has been taken off and internalized into the self will then one be free. And every day you surrender your physicality to your sleep. And then the ideas and the concepts that you hold inside this ego persona person stop the recognition that you are still that lucid dreamer, just dreaming, but have construct and boxed yourself, and you need to X this box or circle your square.
When we speak of the Z, is the last letter in the alphabet. So this is like where we can either come back to samsara or move on. And when we go to sleep at night, we go to the Z, and then death and rebirth happens again. As we rise up in the rising, we come back to this reality. So we're talking about the continuous cycle of that energy. And
people have a holiday, let's just say a holiday, because you have an idea that you can have a holiday. And then through that mundane waking up, let's say going to work, coming back, you bring yourself to the perceived day that you have a holiday. But you held this construct with such a belief that the reality was created. But this is why when the one recognizes itself, your whole reality changes, and everything that happens to you is seen as for you, and you are absolutely looked after and protected, as scripture would say.
And you are
by the Holy
magic,
Father.
Pure magic. It's like abracadabra or abrahadabra, is I will create as I speak. So you speak these words of, a lot of, I'll take it back to the children again, if we, as their guidance that is around them constantly, the energy, if we give them that energy of you're not a good boy or you're not a good girl, you can't do this and you mustn't do that, we're feeding them that energy of that they're not going to grow up to be able to fight that fear. It'd be very difficult. But if we guide them and we inspire them and we encourage them to do what it takes to be that brave, trustworthy, loving, open, willful human being, then they will transcend all of that. And you'll be able to see it as it comes up in any young being. And this is what the programs are set when they're very young. If they have a hard or difficult time, it will be difficult for them to change it. But if we inspire them and they look up to us and see, and we're the guiding lights that shine the way, and we have all that love, strength, control, trust, and balance within, then we are, the guiding lights for them, and they will step into that role just really nicely, calm. And this is the virtuous way that we teach. And it's very easy once you've dropped all of that baggage that may have been put on you from a young child.
The weight of the world that you carry from yesterday or the past can just be dropped in the moment, in one instant. And so much freedom is found there. We had a question from Sister Ori. I lost all of my children due to domestic violence. It's been crippling, and it takes me out of my body. Then I come in this place where all is well and I feel liberated. How can I overcome this pain and leaving the body? It's about your attention. So this continual repetition of the reptilian alpha brain, let's say, ideas that are held there will continue to arise and fall as a test, as an opportunity to expand beyond it. As this noise begins to happen, if you give your attention to this thought, you then fall trapped to its ideology, thus creating emotion. So the continual practice, and nothing can be done or changed about the past. We don't wish to change the future. We have this moment. So I bring my attention off of that into this moment, whether I'm drawing, speaking, and I give it my full attention. I have full attention so intensely on this moment when I'm looking, when I'm eating, I take a second, I breathe, I'm present, and I consume, I taste, I feel everything. And where has the mind gone? It's this attention that we have to be careful. We have attention on the mind, which exists as an ego. We have attention in the moment, the separate dimension, existing in the experience. And we can give our attention as the one, the self. You can be any of these at any given moment. But again, they call it a practice because it takes time here. But always remember that you have never not been this. You have always been it. You will always be it. It's just the idea that you hold that you are not it causes the suffering.
And when Josh says it takes time, it really is about baby steps, because trying to jump too far forward, with any aspect, but whether it be food, exercise for the physical, it's a very much of a journey here, and even the spiritual side of things, the emotional state. But when beings have some trauma to deal with, this is about, when we say shadow work, it is about putting in some of the work to deal with this trauma or deal with the aspects that are arising. It's not just going to happen overnight. A lot of beings that suffer physically in any way, many beings are, you won't find many beings that are free from health conditions nowadays because of the amount of toxins that are put everywhere, just in the atmosphere, the food, wherever you go, you're susceptible to those kind of things. So it is very much of a journey within, trying to focus on the main thing first and get through those little things and enable to see the light from within your being. So that journey that we're taking will, if you try to run with it, and the tortoise and the hare story that we often share, if you try and run too fast, you often make huge mistakes. That
Ego is the hare.
Yeah.
And the turtle is the self, and you only find the self by not running off.
Yeah.
By slowing down and recognizing this moment. Take everything in. Otherwise, you never get to truly experience.
It's a very simple way to be, because this is how we are as natural beings. But the programs that rush us through life, that want something else and something else, it will never happen, because we will never get to that point where enough is ever enough. So we really need to stop, pause, take a breath, and really focus that energy on that present moment to be able to be stable and balanced.
And more thoughts arise, more suffering arises. For example, if you tell yourself, tomorrow I'm going to start this, I'm going to eat better tomorrow.
My diet starts on Monday.
And you don't do this because you've spoken outwardly and you have this expectation of yourself. And if you do not meet the expectation, a thought form will arise. So you create the demon within inside yourself for having expectations, as an example. So when you apply your truth, you slowly but steadily remove these thought demons. I wonder if eating fruit will make me feel better. I have an issue, but I don't know. Now the question and concept has arisen. How will you know? Because somebody tell you truly, and if somebody telling you, will it make you do it? And if you don't do it, you'll never know. So we've got this experience to apply these truths, to experience a sort of science that can be recognized internally. When you eat vegetables, you feel less of a vibration. If they're raw, you kind of feel bloating. Most vegetables need to be steamed. If you eat fruit, nothing needs to be done. They're the fastest, easiest assimilated foods, full of fuel, full of amino acids, easily digested out of the system in 2-3 hours. You feel light, energized, free. You eat meat, you take on board stress hormones, maybe some multivitamins that were injected into it.
Bit of B12 injection.
Some steroids, help you grow.
Protein.
Yeah, and you feel the difference. You can look at tribes, you can see that life expectancies are predominantly meat-based tribes, 40 years, 45, some tribes 30.
Also, you've got to take in consideration with the tribes that they actually weren't having the standard Western diet with that. So, and the animals that they were consuming weren't full of all of these antibiotics.
They were wild.
Yeah, so it wasn't as much of a problem maybe for them to assimilate this kind of food, because again, if you take
fresh
it
as well. Freshly killed.
So you take it into consideration what we're speaking of, like now, the moment the meat is killed in the slaughterhouses and how it's done and how the animals are scared for their life, the cortisol and the adrenaline that's in the animal, what you're eating from it, or
plus how much glucose is in meat,
the conditions that they're held in.
The meat itself has no glucose. Glucose is a primary source of fuel. To gain glucose from it, body has to break down proteins to create more proteins, and this causes so much stress and toll on the body. Again, this is all a choice, and everyone will experience that which they need to experience at any given time.
But that healing journey as well is very much individual. So if you have those fears and anxieties around what you're eating, this will also have a huge impact on your healing journey. So if you're not sure, you still kind of,
just try it,
should I, shouldn't I? It's about being, having your own truth. So if you feel that this is the stage for you to start transitioning, we've got wonderful transitional recipes on our website as well.
Yeah, we've got hundreds of recipes for plant-based, whole food, raw food.
The community forums and the Telegram group that really help and support and guide you through that transition. And this is a small, slow steps that we were talking about, is that if your truth is, I want to give it a go to see how it is, take away the fear and the anxiety that you might have heard from the preconceived programs that of beings that are trying a different path from you, and really focus the attention on your healing journey or your health journey or your journey of truth. And this is why we have the application with truth as our logo, because we really believe that it's an individual unique journey to you, and only you can decide what's best for you, and your truth comes from application of that.
Yeah, so we've got a comment here from Chit Chalk Chat. Tongue twister. I found out too much fruit upsets my stomach from the acidity, something I know from personal trial and error. Now, that's an incredible thing to try. I would question this and say, how long did you do the fruit diet for? Have you been mixing it with Western foods, bread, meat, dairy, potatoes? Because when your body gets a lot of fruit from not previously having it, giving your body a lot of enzymes, you're giving your body a lot of vitamins and minerals and the ability to start to begin to heal itself.
And you'll also have a die-off stage of all the parasites and the, the fungus, the bacteria that is in the gut to help to digest the foods that you were previously eating. So it's a lot of technical things that we need to do. And that's why we say to go on a slow and steady journey of transitional foods or anything that to do with any changes that you're making within
slow
your being.
And steady, we don't recommend really anyone to go from a standard Western diet to a fruit diet, unless you're having to try to heal yourselves in a rapid manner.
because the detox will be huge.
The best way to do it
not
would be
comfortable.
to go to real foods, whole foods, still cooking foods if you have cooked foods or processed foods, maybe for a month, and then go to some predominantly raw and cooked food, and then try yourself on raw. Ultimately, vegetables themselves and legumes, nuts, and seeds contain anti-nutrients. They need to be broken down, digested, and they take nutrients from the body. You'll find bloating. So if you have the ability to be in a fruity zone, equatorial or temperate, where you can get access to these wonderful fruits, for example, a kilo of durian has 1,300 calories. If you do a Google search, let's say the most vitamin C is found in a strawberry, unless you're in the tropical zone. And you see these fruits here have such a higher ratio of nutrients. They have a denser form. They have higher calories. We could say calories, perceived calories. And this is a way to live. So if you're not in these zones, it's good to try it. In Western world, it's a lot more expensive to live on a fruit-based diet. You have to consume a lot more of the foods than you would when they're very dense and slowly break down, but also you live a higher vibrational life.
And also what we've got to look at is that how long have you been eating or drinking those specific things, up to how long you've tried the fruit diet, because it will take a time to transition from that. So if, we're talking 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60 years of eating this way and drinking this way, being this way, it will take time for your body to adjust and adapt and get rid of everything on the cellular level. So we do really need to look at these things, and if we're trying them for, even a couple of months, it's still not a long enough time for us to have that gauge of, is it working for us or not? Because we have to go through a stage of inconvenience or discomfort to have a teaching, a learning.
It's years. Especially if you're doing it without anyone else's interpretation. You just apply these foods and you try them. And most people who go to the carnivore diet have come off a Western diet, so they start to feel great and liberated from certain ailments and diseases. But it's only a matter of time. If you wish to experience these, then it's entirely your choice, and we don't have any desire or will to change you. We just have expression, and that's all we're here to do, is to express ourselves through our own experience. We found a great deal of peace and recognize the self, and in knowing the self, the freedom and liberation is found, and that liberation brings ultimately a sense of happiness, peace, and healing to the physical nature.
Such a balanced harmony state. And I always think back to, when we look at our little boy, and the way that our bodies are designed, children will squat perfectly when they learn to stand, and they will hold their posture perfectly. We are taught to sit like this and
in
to
your chair
lean,
at school,
and and it's not a comfortable way for the body, and this is where we've become an inconvenience to the self, because we're aching and we have certain
shoulder
problems. And
if you have a bad posture, your shoulder, for example, will drop. You will shorten and lengthen one side of the muscle. You start to feel intense pain. And another great course that we did was a posture course, just to able to correct the posture.
And it brings so much more comfort to the being. And when you're in a discomfort or dis-ease state, this is when you find your attention is taken to that point. So you have pain, or you have an uncomfortable feeling somewhere. You're constantly thinking, oh, this is hurting, or I feel this pain. And so the momentary presence will be taken away from that aspect with the painful feeling. So the moment we can heal the body and return it to perfect state is the moment when we become free from the physical. And then we can go and work on. So this is why we teach the basic foundations courses of the food and the posture course with the yoga, because we really feel that our journey started there, didn't it, in the exercise realm and the nutrition, because we feel that being free from physical pain and physical ailments, that we can rise then and shine the light and then work on.
It's essentially removing all aspects of possibility to a pain body, physical, mental, emotional states. So if you can remove your physical pain, essentially it allows you to see the mind, the thoughts, recognize the emotions. If you're too focused on pain in the body, this is a distraction. So the simplest ways to do this is by correcting your posture. Doing some yoga, allow the body to keep moving, keep it in.
Yoga is union. Yoga is union from between the macrocosm and the microcosm. So we need to be in, and I'll just show you this picture quickly. This is yoga.
Yoga is essentially unification with the self. It's knowing the self and recognizing the physical aspect, joining it, merging it with the self, the dreamer, and
the 5 and the 6 united.
Which you have
We've
posting
got
very soon.
The video coming out on the main YouTube. We've done the video with the X family, and we're going to be posting it soon on the YouTube channel. So it's just a unification, body, mind, and spirit. The 3, the Trinity.
Liberation from all concepts that hold you into a space of thought. Recognizing that all of this suffering comes from within. You have a choice. And it's really down to your devotion whether you become free from this.
We've just started a fitness course as well. So we'll be taking you through exercises to help with, any problems that you may find in the physical body. But the fact that people say you can't build muscle on a plant-based diet, or you haven't got enough protein. Now, Josh and I, we're not skinny, wasting away.
We can be if we choose to fast. We go through periods of water fasting, and someone in there said we bulked up, Josh. We began our journey nearly 4 months ago. We've been creating a course. Michelle and I both were training from a very young age, and I was 12 when I joined my first gym. And from then on, I had a journey with diet as well. So I understood every type of food in the stores and went through many different diets inside my own personal journey. I had about 7 years off training. Previous to that, I managed to get my body to a very extreme, one could say, capabilities of strength, size, leanness. And I was also a personal trainer and helped many people for years on their journeys. Michelle she's a sports rehabilitation specialist as well. So we decided to get back in shape, bring ourselves to a certain stature, to change and transform ourselves, and also have a 12-week challenge with the X family. We'll be having different types of exercise programs for gym work, for home work. I think we're going to do a couple of classes with steps, not the band from the 90s. Some Reebok steps.
But this will cover all aspects of getting the body moving again, getting it strong. The foundation comes from the core.
It's found at Ion, is foundation. So the foundation is energy, but physically the core.
It's the core strength, the strength is in that core. So when we speak about the inside journey, again, it's those muscles that support our foundation. And building on that is what we're going to bring to the X family. And
diet plans as well, with different examples. Because in 3 months, I managed to put on 60 pounds. I put on 4 inches on my arms, 4.5 on my legs. My chest is 48 now. So I probably put on about 5 inches there. Maybe a couple of inches around the waist. But essentially one has to recognize that muscles will grow to a certain limit that you consume food. So if if you're looking to consume muscles in a fast way, the best way is with fruits. If you can't consume enough fruits, then you have to add in, for example, in the UK, it's very difficult to get ripe fruits that taste and in abundance. So to add in some vegetables, some starchy carbohydrates that break down slower, can be an important thing. So you can do it. It's a very easy thing to do when you're living a holistic, whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Muscles grow with hypertrophy, so working them hard in the gym or in any way that you wish to, and fueling them. And they store glycogen from the glucose
in the muscles.
And this is your fuel. And they build through protein synthesis, which is glucose and amino acids, and all fruit contain the essential amino acids. Maybe in a lower form than they say within the meat, but it's in the perfect form for your body. So don't be deceived by the mainstream, or be deceived. It's entirely your choice. I don't wish to change you. Yeah, but we're looking forward to that. That should be coming in hopefully a few weeks.
Yeah, got a bit
it's
of
bigger than we
editing to do.
thought.
Yes, but we want to cover everything for you so that we're we're not leaving any part out, so we can
stretching.
Yeah.
Everything from
warm-ups, cool downs,
bodybuilding, building the body, to slimming the waist down, and getting stronger, which essentially will happen if you give yourself some resistance training, and if you have the ability to disconnect yourself from the physical pain that extensive load of weights do, which is, for me, and I think Michelle too, is a form of meditation.
Yes. But always be open with it as well. Like even when Josh and I were personal training, if any of my clients ever came to me and said, I've got this great new exercise, it really feels good for me. It's always something, isn't it? But something new out there on the market. Same with food and every aspect of the matrix. There's always something new coming out technology-wise. But I always would try it before I mention to them that, I don't think it's a great idea, or I do, because I'd like to feel how it felt for me. So I'd get anyone to show me, have an open mind and an open heart, and wish them to help if they could, and then give it a go. And then if it was for me, great, I can move forward with that. And if not, and it didn't feel right, then you can leave it where it
Fundamentals are the basic exercises and your foundational food program. I would say I achieved over 20-inch arms when I was younger, and 70% of this is food. If I consumed 2 meals less, they would have gone down to 18. And I don't mean in one day. I mean over a period of, let's say, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. So having to in understanding, you see, but most people are looking for quick results, but they don't do the foundation. So they try things that are taking them off the simplicity of it. It's so very simple. As long as you've got correct form, you've got the full stretch, you're not lifting with momentum, the muscle is under constant tension, you're fueling it with the glucose and amino acids in a regular fashion every 2 to 3 hours while one is awake. You're consuming enough food to grow. If you're not, then you just eat more.
But also that muscle-mind connection. Again, if you're being present in that moment when you're training and you're really focusing on that muscle in that particular moment, then again, this intention will help you grow. The same with anything. If you're putting your energy and a focus and attention onto something, then you will grow. Not just physically, mentally, spiritually, anything that you put that attention to, this will happen. The growth will be there.
You have to give your attention to something, though. You don't need many things. Keep going from this to this. You'll recognize that the ego itself can't keep its attention on anything for longer than a few seconds.
But this is where the new things, like in the fitness, we just take the fitness area at the moment. There's always a new class, a new exercise to do, a new exercise piece of equipment that you need to buy for the house. But you keep it basic and you do it day in, day out with your attention there. No matter what it is, it's going to work.
And you won't be disappointed as long as you don't hold an expectation of yourself. See, I never had an expectation coming back into it. And then obviously things came on quicker than I expected. No, joke. Quicker than I thought was possible. So you just got to just let go of the expectation, go in and enjoy things. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. It's very good for you though. It's very good. It helps in a healing way. It allows the body to get the endorphins for one.
We spoke about enjoyment. So.
Yeah, and it's the same response in exercise as you would find in fasting. So if one is looking to feel good, to remove toxins, then working out, eating a whole food plant-based lifestyle, practicing the virtues, doing your yoga, stretching and the rising sets you up for such a wonderful day. Correcting your posture to allow you to walk free and effortlessly without any pain. And then obviously having this training aspect is so simple. It's collectively, 45 years together we have the experience of training and helping others and applying so many truths. And I can see that someone here said, Josh, I am amazed at the size you put on in such a short time. No plant-based extras to make it faster. Amazing. No plant-based extras to make it grow faster. Gorillas, rhinos, elephants.
The gorilla's the prime example, but then you look at anything. So
the primate.
The giraffe is the tallest. The turtle lives the longest.
The elephant is the strongest.
You've got all of the plant eaters. The gorilla is so strong, you know, and all of these will be consistently eating the plants, grazing all day on the plants to enable and slowly eating it, not consuming it mindlessly.
Gorillas eat in 2 sit-ins for almost half the day. They consume an awful lot of food. They go off and gather their stuff, sit down as a family and eat it. Probably 2, 3 hours, 4 hours I think they eat for a particular time. Because that is enjoyment. If you don't enjoy eating, you're not doing it right. You need to come over here for some food.
You're invited for lunch.
I'm a feeder. That's why it's so easy for me to bulk up, because I probably eat 7 to 8 meals a day at this time.
I'm on my cycle of debulking at the
moment. I bulked her up too much.
Super strong, but
it's essentially so simple, but the ideas that we hold from the matrix, we have to try this and try that, supplementation, we need to take branched chain amino acids. Every bit of fruit that you consume has these amino acids in them, and they're living amino acids, so the body recognizes them. There's no toxicity, there's no toll. Essentially getting your blood work down is always a great thing, just to check that your vitamins and mineral load are absolutely in perfect balance, because most people won't be consuming stuff that they've grown themselves. B12 is a very important mineral, and it should be checked. If you feel very tired all the time, maybe in some lethargy, have some numbness, it's an important mineral that is deficient in a lot of foods. The only reason why meat finds B12 is because they are injected with B12.
Yes, 95% of synthetic B12 is given to the farming industry to inject their animals with B12. So I always say, why not cut out the middle animal, or the middleman?
Why not eat the flesh and have the jam?
Yeah, so a lot of beings that say, the vegans don't get the B12, but the actual B12 that they're getting eating the meat is synthetic anyway, because it's being injected into the animals, and so it's all of their food that they're eating is being, all of the antibiotics is being put into their food, and is being fortified with lots of vitamins and minerals. But the
offers nothing without these synthetic processes that the meat has.
And the conditions that they're kept in, they have to have this constant supply of antibiotics to kill off any infections that they have, so that the meat's consumable by, the corporations that buy it for the consumer. So, we really need to look into that aspect of health as well. Is this actually healthy? Is the meat that I'm buying actually something that's going to serve me, or why didn't I just cut out that and have the synthetic?
If you look at the vitamins
Injection, yeah.
in meat, there's nothing. You know, they have like some salts, magnesium,
Saturated fat.
and again, protein, you create protein. And anytime you eat protein, you have to break it down into smaller chains of amino acids to be absorbed, which is stress.
Acidic processes in the body, and our body doesn't want to be acidic. It wants to be in balance and homeostasis, and this is what you'll start to feel on the fruits if you incorporate more fruits within the food that you're having.
A lot of people, first 4 days, they say, I don't like it. You know, it didn't feel good, but recognize that there's a transition happening and a bacteria sweep being cleaned off, and detox is never a nice thing. The body has to eliminate again. So through the elimination process, you feel the suffering of that which you consumed. We had it, so while we were talking about B12, it's the cobalt being deficient in the soil. So there's a bacteria that consumes cobalt, which creates B12, and then it's absorbed through the plants in the soil. So if we get to a garden and have a good garden, we test the soil for cobalt. If it's fine, you know you're getting your B12. So you shouldn't really have to worry about these things. Gorillas get their B12 from consuming small amounts of soil.
And their feces.
And their feces, yeah.
Because it gets produced.
You actually have a production system inside of you. So if you eat cobalt-rich foods, there's a bacteria in your intestine that creates B12 as well.
And that's why the plant-based eaters, they used to go to the toilet in the ground and nourish the ground with all the minerals that get flushed through the system.
Cobalamin comes out in the feces into the soil, and then the plants consume this, and it's cycled and recycled.
And then also the seeds get pushed through the system, and all of the system will cover it with a protective enzyme to help with growth.
Also pull in the things that you have been deficient in to bring more minerals to that certain seed to grow into a fruit that you will consume in the future.
So it's just perfect. The actual earth itself is perfect. It's what things
are. Pterodome, isn't it?
What's happened to it over time, and Sadhguru's doing a huge campaign on the soil and how to bring it back, which is great for the masses, because a lot of those guys are waking up from this influence, and it's lovely to see the saving the soil.
Yeah, commercial farming is not a good thing, but realize that there is so much more land than is taken by the commercial. For you, every man, woman, child could probably have an acre on 1 million of what is land on the earth.
It's so vast, and if you look at the wastage of food, the amount of waste that we go through.
We provide enough food on this earth for everybody times two.
It's absolutely incredible if you look into how much is wasted, and you just got to look outside. I mean, blackberries at the moment are in season here in the UK, and how abundant is it here? My gosh, they cost £2 for a small packet.
Maybe about 15 blackberries.
15 to 20 for £2 of 20 blackberries. And then yesterday we went picking, and we had I think it was about 1.5 kilos of blackberries from 15 minutes of picking. It was, and such an enjoyable experience with our little boy as well.
Oh yeah,
just eating them.
That's when you lose mind.
The presence comes
because
back.
you're picking fruit, and you have this wonderful attention on the fruit, and you realize that you just lost time. But this is your natural environment, But again, you're in duality, so you can acquire the gnosis to bring you back to that position where you are in a garden with reciprocating life. You grow, you're in a food, you're very peaceful, and you're connected back to the earth, essentially grounding you. That's why the earth is called earth and ground is called ground, because you are electrical by nature. And
a positive and a negative needs to be grounded.
Both concepts. Does anyone have any questions for us? We'd lovely to have a few questions in any topic to pick that you wish. But again, thank you for being here with us. It's lovely.
I just wanted to, someone mentioned the Game Changers film and the plant-based athletes that athletes that are coming out at the moment in the media. And it's really incredible to watch their journey as well as athletes, because what the body can do physically, if one is prepared to take it to the limits, is absolutely incredible. And watching the plant-based athletes coming into the media at the moment is really interesting to see. And this is really going to be an up-and-coming thing that happens now that they are eating
they're spawning,
foods.
Spawning into athletes. So essentially all records will be broken.
I think it was the tennis the other day that the top two that have been, through the championships are both plant-based athletes. So it's a real up-and-coming thing, and kind of watch this space.
Yeah, everyone who ever goes through that journey will experience a heightened physical strength or heightened physical speed, etc. But unfortunately, there's not many people that are doing it in certain sports, but the ones that have become the top of the game or broken the boundaries previously held on a different diet. Freedom is important in sport. And again, we refer to Bruce Lee destroying the demons, because you go into a fight having an expectation of the fight, or you're trying to think about something that you should do. It's never going to work for you. You have to be like water and fluid and respond instead of react, because react is held as a person and the persona as an actor, previously seen or interpreted. This moment, you respond to it, and perfection is there. We had someone ask a question, can you explain twin flame? Put the word there. So we have concepts in the matrix about twin flames being another person, but essentially the one that you're with is able to help you on the journey overcome identity crisis or ego. Because you're arguing with your partner is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to overcome. And if you work together, you can find peace and balance in communicating. So essentially, speaking your truths at all times and not holding them in, and having expectations of your partner, and then not matching your expectations won't bring the resentment, pain, or anger that most people suffer. My wife leaves the socks on the floor. Well, why don't you pick them up?
It's more likely to be the husband, I think.
Right. We're gonna have an argument now. But this we'll go into these deeper if you wish. But the twin flame, physical win, physical W in to both hemispheres in. But you can see this is to win. So this is to do with intertwining the energies of the L's, which we talk about the AL and the EL. So please look at the video on the AL and EL to truly understand the red shift and blue shift of the Taurus, which is the tour of us, and how to connect those together. Matter of L with the alpha balance with the ether, AME. This is alpha merging with the ether together. So the twin flame is to win the physical, you can say, or the two hemispheres of consciousness moving towards matter of L, alpha balance with ether. Essentially, it's joining the Kundalini energy, the left and the right brain, building up the temple, transcending the ideas, living in ground zero, which is void or devoid of all concepts, all form, all structure, pre-sense, presence. So the twin flames are the red and blue shift of energy within inside of you, and joining them is
you
freedom.
see that on lots of symbols as well, don't you, through the programs. It's on like Pepsi and all of the huge kind of advertising. You see a lot of the red and blue shift that happens. So all of the signs and symbols, I saw a question on there earlier about the signs and symbols, and it's all there for us in plain sight. And you can either choose to have the fear of those concepts and those programs, or you can see
And
it as
hatred and resentment.
enlightenment, and it's showing you the way, it's guiding you. And these signs come up for guidance for us, and I absolutely love seeing the divine interaction with the universe and multiverse, because it's so interesting and so unique of how it guides each individual through art, music, science. You know, it's such a lovely journey to listen to all you beautiful beings and how you've come to take on this journey of acceptance and gratitude and love for all. It really is.
Yeah, it's such an easy journey just to let go.
Well, it is simple if you.
It's the concept of letting go that makes you feel like you have to do something when you're already it, and you need to just be enjoying the very reality that's here. You don't take life so serious. This is judgment. When you hold the judge, you're judging yourself, you're judging the moment. Expectations cause all of this suffering.
They say judge, jury, and executioner all at one same time. So
if you were just experiencing the moment, all the shapes, you can appreciate. You can have a car, you can look back at the car and appreciate the shape of the car. You can appreciate sounds. It doesn't have to be fixated as an ego identity. You can have an appreciation for every single thing. But essentially the knowledge that you acquire on the journey, such as recognizing consciousness and how it expresses itself, say let's say meat eaters or eating meat, or the animals that are being killed, perception's relative. The animals wouldn't have life, they wouldn't have been farmed if there wasn't industry of meat. Being an animal, being consumed, is actually a process that the spirit or soul has to go through. Surrendering its will to a higher form allows it to be incarnated into a higher form, but it's just a process that one has to go through to recognize the highest, what is right. You've been through this. If there's any dogs or animals watching, you'll be in human form.
If you're good.
If you're good. They'll bark at night. And essentially, this is just the journey of experience. So it's a simple thing. That is a journey of complexity through ideas. So the best thing one can do is take the journey of himself, answer the questions that you have inside of yourself through the application of the truth in your answers, and you will know. Sister Joe says, do you recommend cardio too, or is it working with weights best? It depends on your goal.
Cardio is because obviously we're looking at a whole package. So if we look at the internal muscles as well, this helps with the heart strength and the cardiovascular system. So if we look at systems as a whole, it's very important to be holistic, and this is what our journey has really been about, isn't it? Like real holistic health and prosperity really throughout. So having a cardiovascular program within it does help a lot.
I think there's one thing, like if cardio is represented as long distance running, or the workout that you're doing, be it so intense it creates cardio interaction. I don't believe in I feel that it's better to not do too much running as such, because it can put a lot of a toll on the heart and the system. But if you're looking to acquire some strength and some muscles, etc., when you go into this aerobic system, you start to use glycogen or glucose as a fuel source, so it can then eat the storage of the muscles down, so it can hold the gains that you'll be getting. So I train very intensely with minimal rest, keeps my heart rate going, and my sessions are short, allow me to experience time and other experiences.
If you know as well the dynamics of the body, when you are running, you put a huge amount of pressure through your joints through the impact. So again, we need to say, is this being conditioned enough for this exercise? And again, even when we're lifting weights, we need to look at the condition and the warm-up process. It's really not a good idea to go in and just shock the muscle straight away. So we need to look at how conditioned is this being? Is this being starting at the right level for yourself? And you need to trust your body and know that, if this is too much for you. Now, running is a concept, again, that you're going to lose weight or you're going to get really fit from it. It's just not the case because, again, there's injuries that I've seen so many, being an injury rehabilitator.
Why are long distance runners so skinny?
They're very conditioned for what they do. They work on a lot of weight training for the aspect of conditioning the ligaments and the tendons around the knee and ankle and hip joints. So we really need to look at those dynamics as well. And it's not a case of actually it being a really good idea to just go out and put so much impact through the joints. And this is why nowadays a lot of the cardiovascular equipment is softer. It's like a mobility.
Swimming, is the best exercise for them. It is an incredible.
It is not really an aerobic exercise though. So it's more like an anaerobic exercise. But for taking the weight off of the joints, it's an awesome activity to do, isn't it? Especially if you need any rehabilitation.
If you keep your heart rate nice and slow, you're going to get a lot of fat burning from swimming as well.
Is a very good, if you look at all swimmers' physiques, that top swimmers, they've got really strong shoulders, strong arms, and their core will be
not just from swimming though, they will be obviously incorporating gym routines, etc.
That's what they need for their sport. So this is a true way to look at each different sport. And if that's something that you want to do, then you need to condition your body to work with that actual sport that you're intending to do. So
it's all sport specific and relative to your goals.
Very unique.
So if you want to be a long distance runner, then of course you're going to have to do lots of long distance running. But as I stated earlier, all of the long distance runners have very little muscle mass because they're using their muscle as a fuel and essentially downgrading the volume of it. We have a couple of questions here. Please explain created in the likeness of God, the image of God. You are God, you are the creator. The image, you would say, or could say, is the screen of consciousness, which all form is seen on from within inside yourself. So you can't see anything outside of you, or you can't see from outside, should I say. You only see from inside. So like we were speaking about earlier about dreaming, in your dream, nighttime dream, and you see others, are the others in that dream separate from you? Ask yourself this question. And you'll see that, of course, others are not separate from you. And then, as we spoke of earlier with the chicken and egg and the first human, there's an impossibility. And physicality is an impossibility. So you are dreaming. So how can anyone else within inside this dream, daytime dream, be any different than the nighttime dream? So we are all one. And when you hear the spiritual side say that no one or nothing is separate, this is what it means. Everything that you see is from inside of you. You are the creator of this, but have fallen to the idea that you are the person or the character inside the dream. When you just see. When you look in a mirror and you see an image of yourself, the image is not here, it's seen within inside of you. So that looking in the mirror has created the image and the perception that there is a body to see. And if you identify with that body, you fall trap. to the game as such, to the ego and identity there. But if you recognize it's just an experience of the dream that you're having, you are the one which dreams and sees and only sees. You are the one which sees but cannot be seen. These revelations tend to happen inside of you. So the body is not in the image of God. It could be in relation to God, as in G7, ovoid, D form, the 7 voids of form, which is the 7-color torus map of the atom as such. So the image is the blueprint of God, as in atom and form of the Fibonacci sequence. But it depends on how deep the meaning of that goes.
If we look at the allegory of the creation, we've got the Adam and Eve, and then we take it back to the torus again. I'll just quickly show you that one more time. So our 2 energies, so we've got the A, Adam, and the E, Eve. And if we look at the numerology for both of these, we've got 19 for the masculine there, which brings us back to the 1, which is the A, the alpha, 1. And the Eve, 32, which is equal to 5, which is the E. And then we've got action A and emotion E again. So all of this creation is bringing us back to just this Taurus energy again. So when we look at we were created in the image of God, this is God. We are living.
Because God is a
that
concept,
state.
isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's so the image of God is obviously this rather than the nature of consciousness.
So like a system of energy
The
that's coming
fingerprint,
through.
the
Yeah.
fingerprint of Fibonacci.
So we take it back to its basic core every time, and we look at these signs and symbols. And why would it be A and E and Eve? Eve being the balance, even.
The evener.
And the sun and the moon. We're bringing those energies together, the masculine and the feminine,
Positive
the divine.
and negative, hot and cold, alpha, omega.
Day and night, white and black. It's always about balancing those energies. And when we speak of creation, it is always coming back to this core aspect. It's not anything mathematical genius or intellectual genius. It's always a basic, simple design, simple at its core. And if we always look into those simple explanations and truths, that we can't see it any other way. Even the logical brain wouldn't be able to not see that.
So that's why G is 7, sine wave even, which is the colors, 7 colors, S even. O is a void, and D is form. So it's the 7 voids of form, the color spectrum, the image of God, the torus, and the colors.
And then if you watch some of our recent videos where we've explained this whole concept, it just brings it back to such a basic level and understanding. And really it is truly about our bodies being in alignment and perfect balance, and that is the ultimate way to free yourself from samsara.
Just don't hold any concepts, don't judge any moment, just be here and free. But enjoy the journey that you are taking, because all shall be revealed to you in the absolute perfect time. What's your thoughts on affirmations? They are very wonderful, they do work. You create the word or the image, the subconscious sees this, and then it creates. So if you are looking at doing your affirmations, I suggest keeping regular boards and writing them down, and you'll be fulfilled very quickly. They do come into fruition very rapidly. You must have faith, no expectations, and allow things to come in perfectly for you. This video will be kept, sister. Thank you. Dog, since the dog backwards spells God, does it mean that God dogs reflect the image of God more closely, or purely considering everything as God. Everything is of God. Everything is an expression of God. The form of a dog is no different than the form of yourself. It's just an expression that is seen. So it's not separate from you, or it's not separate from God. It's perceived to be separate by the person. But I think when you go into concepts like this too much, it can take you from the true nature of yourself, being the all-seeing eye that can never be seen but is experiencing. So the idea was created inside consciousness itself as a dog to be a companion for the person. Now, albeit a non-speaking, empathetic form, it's just what it is. It's a form, a companion, and it does what it does.
Just wanted to just elaborate a little bit on vision boards and manifestations and intentions.
And we better wrap it up.
Yeah, exactly. These are really powerful because words hold vibrations. We have the energy, frequency, and vibrational aspect of this realm. And what we create, or what we speak, we create. And I just wrote down again the abracadabra or abrahadabra. It's a bit light on there. So again, we look at the numerology with regards to the etymology of the words, and these are taught to very young children. Even when they used to go and watch those shows, theatre, it's like abracadabra and all of these magical words that we don't really understand when we're children, but as we grow, we can look at the truth behind them, and this is where they come out, because this actually means I will create as I speak. So you speak the word, and in the beginning there was the word. So the vibration is there. The frequency then comes and takes a hold of it. And we roll with all of these numerology aspects. And the matrix way is abracadabra, which is the infinite 8. So again, it can trap you in that 8 cycle. When we look at the mystical, magical, occult, saying it's abrahadabra, which is the 13 and the M that we spoke of earlier, the death and rebirth of that energy, and the die state that it hits in the center. So these kind of intentions that we put out there into the universe, the multiverse, will reciprocate our energies and come back to us.
Because essentially it's mirrored inside of you.
It is as above, so below, as within, so without. And
I don't like you or I love you, it's you're saying it to yourself.
And again, this is covered by that water, when they freeze water and they put on the water a nice prayer.
Experiments.
Yeah, and then the crystals are perfectly formed, and it does have such a... everything in creation has a vibration. It's vibrating at some cellular level, and the V's here, the feminine V's that surround this, are mirrored back and forward. So we have the center part here and the mirror images of the abra. So if we look into these aspects of magic and symbolism and etymology and numerology, they all come hand in hand. So they just hold vibrations, and if we can be pure in our intent and in gratitude for what we receive from the universe, and then give back.
It just resonates, doesn't it? With your gratitude, it resonates gratitude.
And gratitude is, I'll just quickly write it on the board.
And as you're resonating in gratitude, there's a liberation, and the freedom comes with that. So
gratitude is equal, in numerology, equal to 105. So again, we've got the A and the E of the 1 and the 5. And then our void in the center, our die state. So gratitude and abstinence is another word that comes to 105, when we abstain from something, we really do have that gratitude for it. A lot of our family will know from the water fasting and the abstinence from certain things, even if it was technology or anything like that, we have the gratitude when we revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just vibrations that the words hold. And we can look into those deeper meanings, and it actually is such a true gift that we can experience these
You
things.
attract, let's say, or you create that which you are. So if you have gratitude, you have an appreciation. An appreciation is a resonance. And that resonance has, you could say, an attractive field which pulls in the experience. So you're experiencing on a level of love and gratitude. So the very things which you will see will be of that. And if you don't have appreciation, your universe will align you to a situation where you have an opportunity to become gratitude or appreciation. And if you don't, thought forms appear, then you go lower inside yourself and suffer. But essentially that appreciation, this is why I said the most important thing you can have is appreciation for the form. Just the delicate, subtle nature of form itself. Because the formless one, that which you are, created form for the experience. Simple as this. So enjoy the experience. Have this sensational experience. Taste, touch, smell,
Sight.
hearing, sight, clairvoyance, telepathy, intuition. You see all of this inside of you. So stop looking external and clean the temple once you have built it.
Know thyself.
Do you think some are born evil or have just been tricked into it? Everything's perfect. So everyone is born into the situation that they should be and have to go through the very nature of that experience for them to expand. Whether it's an experience of pure suffering into the next form, which will elevate them on their journey. But it's a very time-perceived, expansive experience. It's taken in perceived time billions of years. And this is why we are here now on this final stage of this evolution of form to merge ourselves with the spirit and the form. Beyond here is an incredible journey for those that are able to do this.
Just wanted to show you one last. So universe, you are the universe. Everyone is their own unique universe. And everything you need to know is in you. So it's just reversed. Our verse is within you. So we just need to be it, know it, trust it, and just live our truth and our divine will and our divine love. Let that shine. And let others shine as well. And everyone is on their own unique journey, finding their own truths. And we need not judge, because those that judge
first, inside, saying that others should be the same as you, thus creating a separation from you and the other, when the other is an expression of yourself. On the day of this creation, a scientific discovery was made or heard where I personally believe we somehow created. Please watch and tell me. If I can get that question correct. The one which is conscious had a dream and dreamt of form. Form was very simple and form turned into complex forms when this could be thought of in the great mind. Thus being able to be experienced by the great mind self or consciousness to be able to interact with itself. To lose itself in the body persona, to then find its way back to recognizing one was itself this whole time. I hope that helps. But yes, I think we have done a 2-hour show, and I think that's enough to digest for people to wish to see again. So if there's anything that anyone would like to ask quickly, then please make it known. If not, we will be doing this regular, so it's an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you all.
Just wanted to let you know that our website is xfamunity.com. So all of the courses that we've covered in this show are on our website, and the new course, fitness course,
coming
we are
very
doing
soon.
as soon as possible, just editing some bits and putting as much information as possible for you all to thrive on that.
Yeah. So if you're looking and interested in breath work, we have a wonderful course in there, very occult breathing. We have a posture correction course. We have the virtue course. We have healing protocols. We have yoga.
Transitional food,
transitional
recipes.
recipe books. We have all of our Q&As for the past 2 years, which I think every question has been answered on there, which can be very helpful to bring light to those which are still seeking answers.
A very inspirational support group on Telegram.
Beautiful high conscious family. I was so grateful for you all. And yes, there's no obligation. You come and support us if you wish, and expand yourself by recognizing that truth is found in your application, observation, and change. Thank you so much for being here with us all. You have a beautiful day, a beautiful night. Remember that it is this moment that needs to be recognized. Explore it, give your attention to it, and your attention with your intention is the most powerful manifester you have. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, beautiful family.
Love you all. And this will be played, I think, straight away after, so you can rewatch it. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.